Hi, everybody. Welcome to Lean In Olympia, our live bi-weekly show that is airing on the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month. Lean In Olympia is Interfaith Works' show that features conversations at the crossroads of humanity, justice, and belief. I'm Meg Martin, the Executive Director of Interfaith Works. If you want to check out past episodes or stay up to date with the work that Interfaith Works is up to, make sure to visit our website at interfaith-works.org and check out the Interfaith Works Facebook page, which you're already on if you're watching, and our YouTube channel as well. I am super excited today. It feels like it's been a minute since I've been on Lean In, so I'm just happy to get back in the chair, and huge shout out always to Cabin Light Studios for helping us make this possible. And today I have three extremely special guests. We've got Lonnie Locke, Selena Kilmoyer, and Dr. Thelma Jackson. So I'm going to do a brief introduction of each of our guests and then give a little bit of context for kind of what brought me to the place of inviting these three amazing women on today. So Dr. Thelma Jackson brings over 30 years of experience in education change initiatives, restructuring and reform, equity and diversity, policymaking, school boardsmanship, cultural competency, community mobilization, strategic planning, educational auditing, school improvement, systemic change, curriculum evaluation for bias and fairness, professional development, and educational transformation. Dr. Jackson served on task forces and advisory council for 5 governors of the state of Washington, has received many awards and accolades, and is generally well known as a wealth of knowledge, experience, and change making. Selena Kilmoyer is an artist, former nun, lifelong activist, and lover of all people. She was a long-term live-in advocate at Bread and Roses, which many of you might remember, a house in Southeast Olympia that provided residential shelter to women experiencing homelessness, has been a personal mentor of mine throughout the years, and is always looking for ways to deepen the spiritual resolve of our whole community to address poverty, addiction, and loneliness. Lonnie Locke is someone who leads with honesty, lived experience, and a hunger to unite all people. She's a longtime resident of Thurston County and a member of the Baha'i Faith. She has cited the following as being life-changing events: living her first 17 years in Alabama from 1946 to 1964, moving to Washington State, parenting 4 children, becoming a member of the Baha'i Faith, marrying Dan Locke, being appointed as the first African-American court commissioner in Franklin County, Washington, and serving as the coordinator of a project started in 2019 titled Looking Back, Moving Forward. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
A real powerhouse of women here today. I feel very honored to be in all of your presence. So before we hear more from our guests, I want to just kind of speak from the heart about where I'm coming from today. I was really thinking a lot, long and hard, about what this topic was going to be for the show this week, and everything that I came up with just kind of fell a little flat. It's undoubtedly an extremely tumultuous time in our world, in our country. Today we're, leading up to the inauguration of a new president. There's all kinds of concerns about how that's going to go. We witnessed an insurrection on the state capitol by white supremacists just last week. As a younger person who follows politics and is deeply involved, I'm frankly scared, and I'm worried, and I just feel like there's not a lot of examples in my lifetime of tumult like this in our country. And so when I'm confused or feel like I'm reeling out about the state of things, I find a lot of comfort in connecting with people who have been on this earth longer than I have and who have experienced different perspectives and differing connections to the things that we all collectively experience, even though us experiencing for various reasons. So today, my hope is that we, the community, your community, can hear from you. You're inspiring, kind, and tough women about your thoughts and feelings. I do want to note that Dr. Jackson has to sign off no later than 12:40 p.m. So I thank you in advance for your time so that you can just jump off whenever you need to. So to start out, I would just like to ask each of you, how are you doing today? How are you feeling? I realize that's a really huge question during these times, but I'm curious about just how you're feeling as we head into this week of uncertainty with everything that's been going on. Lonnie, would you like to start?
Sure. It sounds like more than just this week of uncertainty. It's been a year of that, and I think I've come up with some coping tools for myself, and I just kind of take things on a day-to-day basis and try and deal with them as they come. That's pretty much how I am dealing right now with things.
Thelma, would you like to share?
I find myself feeling extremely prayerful, having to reach deep into my faith and trying to renew my hope in humanity. So much has been going on that is just awful. And, as we look at the immediate history of this country, as a Black person, every time we seem to be making progress, there seems to be some tremendous setbacks. And what's happened in the last 4 years in 2020, what we've seen this year is another example of that. And it's just heartbreaking to see the amount of divisiveness, the hatred, the bitterness, the racism, the divide. And so it just really brings me to my faith to just try and accept what's going on and accept that it's a master plan, and it had to be exposed before we can begin to heal and move forward. So those have been my thoughts of late, and with the inauguration tomorrow, and I'm just praying that it's safe and the beginning of a renewed hope for America.
Definitely feels like a revealing, a deeper kind of unveiling and revealing of many horrible things, horrible truths about our country. Selena, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm actually really good. I will explain why. 2 years ago, I started a process of becoming intentionally conscious, to becoming aware, and I dubbed myself the Joyful Crone, because in spite of what was going on, I had learned to practice holding that vibration of joy. And when we rolled into 2021, I also rolled in 76 year, which means I'm closer to 100 than I've ever been before. And so I am now on my Gmail signature as Cosmic Cheerleader, because all of the cosmos is in a place of such incredible newness, with all these converging planets and spectacular events happening at the cosmic level that has never happened before, or it's been hundreds, if not thousands of years. And we are, according to astrologers, the shift of the ages is happening, and we are part of it. And all that's going on in our world in terms of the collapse, the old paradigms collapsing, and all of the new is meant to be. And so I'm very, very excited because all that is happening must happen. And we can either choose to into this enormous transformation or fight it. And one of the questions I would like to just put out, and maybe it's premature, is from the day Dow, when the question is asked, can you deal with the most vital matters by letting events take their course? Can I allow all the polarity that's unfolding to unfold without leaping in and trying to react? Because as long as we're breathing, we're all conscious. We're on some point on the continuum of consciousness. But people who are not in the same consciousness cannot connect, cannot communicate. And so there's this clashing. And it's inevitable that it happens. But do I have to be part? And that's my challenge. And every breath I have that opportunity to choose. And that's where I am. I'm breathing into that. And I love the gift that has forced the world to pause and to think about our breath. And that's the good news. This is a pause of great magnitude and enormous, enormous possibility.
Well, that really brings up a thought for me of just like, you know, it does feel like a time of real intense transformation. And for those of you that have been through other parts of history that was before my lifetime, that were also big moments of transformation, does it feel like that to you as well? Like, Selena, obviously you already mentioned that it does, but I'm wondering, Lonnie or Thelma, like, does it feel like we are in this moment of great transformation?
I'll let
I
Thelma
believe
go
that.
first. Yeah,
Yeah, I
sorry.
believe that, you know, and there's so many indicators to that fact. And as Selena indicated, the alignment of the stars and the cosmos, and that's why I said I'm trusting in the evolution of what's happening, that it's going to lead to a better place. So transformation is at hand, and it is exciting to watch it unfold, not knowing what direction it's going to take, but we definitely are in the midst of transformation, one way or the other.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both Selena and Thelma. What I see is a great imbalance in the world of the material and the spiritual piece, and some of those things that we're seeing, those symptoms, are symptoms of that imbalance. And I too am grateful that we're having to look at these things and figure out, you know, how to make those changes of the particularly it seems like in our country there's such a greater leaning toward material and not the spiritual, because we're both spiritual and material beings. And so I think that as we work through this sickness and disease that we're seeing, that the world is going to be so much better. Just I probably won't see it. I'm hoping from my grandchildren and the future generations and people like you, Meg, you know, to benefit from that.
Well, it will certainly be on the shoulders of people like you that have taught us along the way. And I think that that's something that has come up for me during all of this, is like how, you know, there's so many fiery viewpoints coming from, particularly from younger activist generations. Even for me, I'm 37 now, and so it's, there's even a younger kind of cohort of activists that I'm not as directly connected to. And I'm wondering, do you feel like the current movement for Black lives, for equity and fighting poverty, for liberation of all people is inclusive to folks in older generations?
I would like to leap in. Last week, there was an announced possibility that perhaps in the regime, Biden regime, student college loans are going to be forgiven. And there was just a spark of incredible new possibilities and how that would impact lives. That's one action, just one action. And again, the cosmos is operating under this BAM, energetically. So the change that we have not seen in our lifetimes may happen very, very quickly. It is possible. I believe that. And I believe that we need to be ready. And if I could take just a bit, with Martin Luther King being acknowledged publicly this week and always remembered, our beloved community, are we ready here in Thurston County, not even the whole country? Would we be ready if it was declared tomorrow that there would be sufficient money for every resident in Thurston County to have their basic needs? Do we have a game plan? I would say no, we do not. Wouldn't it be a great experience to involve people of all ages who would be interested, imagining when that happens and what changes we would need to make locally to make such a new community? I just offer that because I feel that young people have the spark, the vitality to make possible the changes that we're going to. Because if nothing else, everyone under your age, Meg, in the world with a little computer mouse in your little hands. So technology is a tool, a today tool that could easily find the answers to then put into practical in our new beloved community.
Well, I think one thing that has to happen in Thurston County and around the rest of the country as well, and speaking of Martin Luther King and his holiday that we just celebrated yesterday, his emphasis and focus on racism and discrimination and freedom and liberty for all. And in my estimation, I think that his holiday has been hijacked into a day of service, which is a much more comfortable thing for people to donate food, work in a food bank, cut ivy from trees, clear parks, and this kind of thing. But we are not having the dialogue about the inequities in our society and all of the things that he stood for and fought for and gave his life for. And if we're to be ready for everyone in Thurston County, what they need, we and the young people are ready to talk about racism and discrimination and how embedded it is in our society and the kind of societal changes that are going to need, that will be needed. And it's the older generation that's much more comfortable with the day of service and not needing to talk about it. So we've got a divide just in our conversation alone. So I don't know how that comes together, but that's the relevance of Martin Luther King holiday to me, and what his life and his message was all about. That I use the word hijack. That's been hijacked, and I just don't see. I don't see it happening. It's gone in a different direction, further and further away from its original meaning.
I absolutely agree. I love so much the idea of both elder and and youth getting together to talk, because each of them bring, something very special to that conversation. And my thoughts about the only way out of all of this, all the things that are happening to us, the medicine is going to be unity. The unity being that all voices have value, and that we use consultation rather than violence as a way to to talk to each other. And I think all of the elements to do that are there. It's I think humanity's choice to accept those, and to see that what hurts one person hurts everyone, and the change in attitude has to be a change of heart. That and it can't be a continual material aspect. We have to bring the spiritual into this conversation. And when I think about the thing that brings us together is, that golden rule that says, putting others before yourself, and thinking about how together we can make changes in the world.
I appreciate that so much, and just the focus on that heart change, because I feel like, as a white person who tries to be, walking through the world with as open of eyes as I can about privilege and, disparity, and how this all fits together, and structural racism's, how it plays out every single day. I find myself often, and I see this happen with many other younger people, is that there's this, like, I mean, and older people too, just that there's this, like, need for white people to intellectualize things so much and think about how to fix it, and think about, either their role in it or not. And that it's because maybe it's too painful to get into the heart space or the spiritual space. And that's something that in my own life I'm trying to really kind of come to terms of what it means to get out of the head and into the heart, and that is where a lot of these complex answers lie. And I've always known that to be true when it comes to building community empathy for folks experiencing homelessness, or the way that stigma impacts drug users or people with severe mental health challenges. And so I just really want to emphasize that point that you all are weaving into this. I also find it interesting that your faith and spirituality is so important to each of you, but you're all coming from different places with that and different frameworks. I'm wondering if anyone has anything else that you want to add about the role that your faith or spiritual community plays in your life.
Surrender. Surrender in love. What do I mean by that? I trust that the next breath is being given to me, and I inhale, and I surrender into the love of that breath, and I exhale whatever I have, all of whatever I have for others. And it's non-vocal, but it's an energy, and it's a constant, intentional prayer energy, breathing itself into my being and out into the we space of being together. And it's somewhere in the surrender and in the silence, in that iota pausing between the in-breath and ex-breath, is the spirit moving among us. And I have to trust that. I have to trust that because I know it's true. And it's not about the overt way we practice faith. It's the covert, deep, deep way of being together as one. We are all divine creatures. All of us. We are all on the continuum of life. And it's a practice. And I have this practice in my heart. And it's a product of COVID. I see another person with a mask on, and aha, I forgot to be conscious of breathing right now. The old Christian mystics used to talk about the ceaseless prayer of Jesus. Lord Jesus, have mercy on me, this redundant out loud that made absolutely no sense to me. But it's for me, the surrender moment is that ceaseless wanting, that's harmonic wanting with everybody's breath together. That's the power that we hold. And it's the magnificent power. And it's given to us here, right now, every breath.
Almost sounds like music to me too, or I'm reminded of music.
Thelma, would you like to comment?
I'm just thinking, why don't you go ahead, Lonnie?
Okay. Well, there's a quote from the Baha'i Faith that says, strive that your actions day by day be beautiful prayers. And it lists all of those things that we think of when we are serving others, because the Baha'is think of service as the same as worship, because you're offering yourself in service to someone else, and to so that your life becomes more than just words. It becomes actions. Actions are just the things that say who we are, and how I serve, how I show my faith is through actions in service to other people. And it affects everything that I do, and I have to call myself to account every day to make sure that what I'm doing, is following that line. And sometimes there are things that I decide, well, maybe that I could have done something different or behaved in a different way. So.
Well, let me just say that from a Black perspective, in addition to the whole service logic that Lonnie just talks about, faith has been a seed within our existence for the 400 years that we've been an enslaved people on this American soil. And were it not for the deeply held faith, if it were not for the continual hope in our souls and our spirits, that Blacks today here in 2021 would not exist, because we would have been annihilated a long time ago. But the Black church, regardless of what segment of religion, but the Black church has played a key part in the social justice movement, the civil rights movement, and any movement of any significance in our history. And so faith has always been there, and it comes out in different kinds of ways. And it's brought us this far, and we certainly have to reach back in to help it take us the rest of the way that we need to go. So in this time of transformation, the spiritual is going to strengthen, I do believe. And And the faith is being deepened about so many of the things that are being revealed to us right now.
I wonder, I know that Dr. Jackson, you have to jump off in just a couple minutes. I'm wondering about, just with that, like, what are some of your hopes for the coming year of just what you're hoping to see, tangibly out of that transformation that, is stirring in so many ways right now?
Well, one of my greatest hopes is that people will get out of denial about what's actually going on and what the state of things really are. Searching deeply to figure out, how did we get to this place? It didn't just happen overnight. It didn't just happen with the last 4 years of Donald Trump and his presidency. How did we get to this place? And until we can understand that through dialogue, research, study, reading, conversation, whatever, we're going to be hard pressed to go in the direction many people now want to see us go. But the denial about the degree to which racism and indifference and inequities exist and how deeply penetrated it is in our society. That it's my hope that if we can just come to that realization, that's a start. We won't have the answers, we won't have all the solutions, but we can't solve a problem until we identify the problem. And so that's a different kind of conversation. That's a different kind of dialogue. That's a different kind of soul letting, if you will. And if we can just accomplish that in 2021, I think we as a society, we as a community will be well on our way to changing things so that our children, our youth, all of them stand a better chance of living in a society that they all richly deserve.
Thank you so much for that. And I think that also just speaks to the importance of finding whatever those things are within each of ourselves that makes us feel grounded and safe, because I feel like that to walk into that, active place of not being in denial, like that's a place of fear, right? Like that denial is a place of succumbing to fear, in my opinion. And so doing that internal work, each of us, to be able to move forward without that fear will help us closer to getting out of that denial place. Lonnie or Selena, any thoughts on that?
Selena, please go. I have spoken.
Okay, I'm going to share honestly because it needs to be said. I was born into generations of Orange Irish Protestants who were, by choice, believing in the Orange Order in Ireland, wherein one loves God and his son Jesus and hates all Catholics. And the hate whole group of people was ingrained into my being. And I knew intuitively from early childhood that I did not hate people. I just knew that because I was still so closely related to the divine. I knew I was still a beloved child underneath it, all of the trauma. And it literally has been decades of trauma healing for me to begin to understand what motivated generations of people. And the worst sin, if there be such a word as sin, the worst evil was that this hatred of Catholics, this Cathrophobia, was taught to us in our church by our ministers, who abbreviated the gospel message, the scripture message, to include love God, love Jesus, love others, and hate Catholics. And the and hate was built into that. And so my story is that by God's grace and a tremendous amount of work, I have been able to heal through that trauma. I will never understand what a person of color experiences, nor will a person of color perhaps understand what it was like for me to be taught to hate, which is so contrary to our divinity. So your oppression, Lonnie and Thelma, is my oppression, because it's not about which is more and which is less. It's about we have been oppressed. And I guess my message today is trauma work is possible. Healing is possible. And it's a long, arduous process. And my heart needs to be open to say, yes, am I willing to listen to other trauma stories? Are you willing to listen to mine? Are we then able to trust healing and move into, as I began the conversation, wondering what our community could be like beyond that? And there can be a concrete place beyond that. But maybe the start place is together daring to share the trauma. And I open my heart to that, and that is surrender moment for me in this breath.
Thank you, Selena. Your words are so beautiful. I really love listening to you. I think for me, I'm finding every day uncovering something that I had not known before, and the more that I'm involved with others, I'm just learning so much more about myself, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity here in this community to be able to be in many different spaces and with many different groups, and to see the face of my family. Family, I'm meaning all of humanity, all the people that I come in contact with, seeing those folks as my family, and just learning a lot. I remember a long time ago I heard this prophecy, and I'm not sure who to attribute it to. At one time, what I heard was the Hopi people who talked about the fact that at some point in the world that all the different colors who had gone to the four corners of the world would come again together and learn from each other and speak together. So I'm wondering whether or not that coming together, which seems to be happening through technology, is what is happening in the world. And so because of that, we're learning from each other and are getting such a wonderful opportunity to bring all those things that we've learned into things that would benefit all of us. And it makes me very excited to see that perhaps, this is what's happening now. Because we haven't been together, there's this time when we will, there are the clashes and the disagreements. But what I think will eventually bring us through is our love for each other, and knowing that we're on this one planet, which we'll never leave. This is our home, and we have to figure out how to get along, how to be together, and that is what gives me hope, and it also allows me to decide sometimes, to choose where I want to be and what I want to do and how I want to serve with that goal and objective in mind, and hope that I can, make some contribution, in that way. So anyway, thank you.
It's a nice ringtone. Oh my gosh, I just feel like I have 1,000 questions for all of you, and just hearing you all talk just feels like such a gift. Thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything else that either of you, Dr. Jackson had to jump off the call, I see, but just that either of you want to add before we wrap up, hopes for the coming year, or anything that's kind of still in your heart or on your mind about sort of the blossom that we've opened up today in today's conversation?
I personally hope that we will be able to find ways, probably through Zoom, to listen more deeply to young people, to whatever is in their hearts that need to come out and be shared. Some people are blessed with children in their lives and grandchildren, and others are not. And how do we make those opportunities? Where as an old crone, I can learn from and listen to young people. A place where they would feel free to be able to express themselves. And that's my hope for this coming year, because the only way forward is to listen, and to listen deeply and honestly. And I want to know what they're thinking. I want to hear their anger. I want to hear them scream at me and ask why we screwed up. Because I have to be willing to listen to those voices that are teaching me how to love more emphatically, how to practice unconditional love, which is the ultimate goal. And I can only practice by people sharing with me what their heart is speaking truthfully, whatever that is. So that's my my plea for this coming year, that we use whatever technology, whatever opportunities, whatever venues, be it art or music or conversation, however, that will ready us for a time when we can all get together and do pizza and highly carbonated sodas and listen and share and feel our faces and feel our emotions up close and personal. And thank you, Meg Martin, for being such a dynamo in our community. And my prayer is always that you are taking care of yourself and eat your broccoli.
I do that a lot. I do eat broccoli a lot.
Garlic cloves, and do whatever it is that you're needing to do. Lonnie, it's been wonderful spending time with you again.
Oh, absolutely. For me, Selena, I still, I knew that I knew your voice, and I was so excited about, being here with you, and thank you, Meg, for setting this up. It really has made my day, and will make the next thing that I'm involved in, just, which is a little bit contentious. It's going to make it so much better after having this moment with the four of you, really.
Yes, I think my hope for the coming year is, that getting to that truth place, that deeper truth. And I think that in order for that to happen, there needs to be a connection with mind, heart, body. And this has just felt very grounding to me, this conversation. I feel my feet, more firmly planted on the ground than when I floated in here at the beginning of the call. So I just feel so honored for your time. And please know that, personally, but I know that this goes far beyond me. Like, our community has learned and gained so much from each of you in your experience and what, all of the gifts that you offer to the community on an ongoing basis. And all of your energies are permeated throughout in different ways. And it really makes a huge impact in my life. And I know that that's true for many others as well. So you are all very important gifts to me, and every opportunity I get to be with you, it just is really amazing. So
Thank you, Meg.
Thank you.
And I have to move on to my next thing too. So,
And thank you, folks at the log cabin
Okay.
or cabin studios.
yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Cabin life.
Yes.
And
Okay,
thanks everybody for watching. Join us on our next episode of Lean In Olympia. Is going to be with Corey Passons. And again, you can always check our website, Facebook page, and YouTube channel to stay connected. We love you, Olympia. I hope everybody goes into this week knowing that you are loved and your feet are on the ground, and we are our greatest tool together. So take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.